Here we go, live on a Sunday night for TP Interactive. And welcome, Paul.
Thank you, Les. Yeah, here we are again. And let's hope that we get through it without any sound issues this week. Sorry about what happened on Thursday. Just we're out of control.
Yeah. It was a mini disaster, but hopefully we recovered, and we've got to thank
Dean Cooling.
Dean Cooling, who came on, last minute. Thanks, Dean, for that. If you're listening or if you're tuning into this later point, thanks for that.
Well, at some point in next hour, hopefully we might get Tony Worrall on. He's going to share a few ghost stories with us. Let's hope he comes on anyway. I see our Jessica's in, and there's Alison doing moderating as well. Some names there: Diane Farrell, Amanda, Jason Davies, Bobby Dazzler, Andy Codes, Jilly B, Tom Waters. Good to see you, Tom. Margaret Webster, Linny. Let's have a look. Dragonborn, Enigma, Chris Mack, Martin Abbas. Good to see you today, Martin. I'll see you in a bit. And Dave Barker. Oh, yeah. Dave Barker. You know, we've got to do that story, Dave. Selma Carrick, Steph, Chris Mack, Tino. And you know what I'm going to say now, because otherwise I'm just going to be like reading bingo numbers, and we'll be doing that all night, won't we? So, as always, Sunday, it's for you guys. So just get some capital letters in your question, and just send us some of your thoughts and some of your ideas on this crazy subject we're all immersed in. What do you like? What do you want to see more on these short accounts that we're putting out? I seem to be putting loads out, Les, at the moment on strange creature sightings in Danes Dyke, and I don't know where they're all coming from. It's crazy.
Absolutely great accounts that you put out last night, Paul, and good response by the look of it.
Yeah, it has. And I could see in comments. Well, one particular comment, and no disrespect to who sent it, but it were a little bit disrespectful, so I removed it. So, but I'm not the kind of person that's going to go rattling onto somebody. You don't know about that, Les. If somebody says they can't believe it, then I can accept that all day long. But if they're being disrespectful to witness and about the fact of what he's talking about, then I'm not having it. It's done with, But other than that, we want more of these reports. This area has now revealed at this entrance to Danes Dyke 4 reports. Guess what? Got another one. I've seen that. I've got another one. Yeah, I rang the guy today. No reply, but I know it's genuine because Paul Dorr put me onto him. So, we had Paul on a few weeks ago, didn't we? So it's not somebody it's not some kind of wind up. So why is that area? That's a question for you in chat, people. Why do certain locations keep throwing up the same types of phenomena? Because where this is coming from, I just don't know. I just can't get my head around. I can't bend my head around it myself. But no sign of Tony at the moment. So what we got, Les? What do you want to talk about?
Well, first of all, I've got to thank everybody who's really come onto tonight's stream. Great support as always. And you know what, Paul? I think the last look, and you could probably update me, even give me the latest update. I think it was only just under 50 subscribers away from 10,000.
Les, I don't know. I know you like to look at that, but it'll happen when it happens. It's all good.
Yeah, so I don't think our announcement will be tonight, Paul. I'll have to double check as the show goes on tonight. I'll double check where we're at. But when we reach the 10,000, there'll definitely be something advantageous for you guys in the stream. Right. So
question there I can see from Andy Codes. It's just disappearing. What is it that's been seen in Danes Dyke?
What is it that's been seen in Danes Dyke?
Well, as crazy as it sounds, it's something on 2 legs, Andy, covered in fur. I don't feel daft saying it, but people are reporting seeing something that looks like a dog that stands 7 foot tall. How nuts is that? And I am talking about it, but I've got to give the witnesses their say, and none of them know each other. And the last one, and if anybody that's not seen this, you just go on to Truth Proof, the YouTube. Well, you're on YouTube now. Some of you aren't. Most of you aren't. They're listening to this. Go on to the shorts. Don't leave this channel. This is what we're doing right now. But look later, and you'll see me talking about the account. What I like about this one, regardless of what a person wants to believe, this guy's going to meet up with me. He's agreed to let us film him. That's how confident he is about what he's seen. And I like that, you know, when people turn around and go, well, I've seen it. Why should I deny what my own eyes have seen? And that's the truth of it. Just because other people can't bend their heads around it, don't make it any less true. So there you go.
I'm just going to throw this up from Andy.
I
guest.
think Tony's here, but let's just...
Yeah, we just Andy Decodes is saying, I took a photo when I was there last week of a footprint as big as my hand. We'd like to see that photo, Paul.
Yeah, you did tell me about that, Andy, and I've not had a chance to get out there yet. So I'll have a look myself, and I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll take some plaster of Paris because I want to know exact location you saw it, and we'll cast it and see what... We'll see what it looks like. Yeah,
and
just great.
Just as a side note, I enjoyed talking to you the other night at Bempton Cliffs, Andy. So thank you very much for that. And
before we bring Tony in, go on, Les.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, there was a meeting of quite a few people up there last week, wasn't there, Paul? And it was
just out of the blue, 9 people, all with a similar interest, and nobody saw anything. But it was good just to kick ideas around and just exchange views. And yeah, I'm off there again tonight with Martin Abbas. So I shall see you after this live stream, mate.
Okay, we won't keep Tony hanging on too long, Paul.
Yeah,
we'll bring him on and let's have a look. Tony, welcome.
Hi, Tony. How are you doing?
Hi, Paul, Les, everyone. Alison as well.
Well, good to see you, and thanks for sharing a bit of time with us, Tony. Go on, Les.
So
that's no problem. Sorry for the delay. There was a bit of a technical issue at my end.
Not a problem.
I'll just for a little while and come back with any questions for you guys, if that's all right with you, Tony and Paul.
Yep.
Okay.
All good then.
And
okay then, Tony. Paul. Yeah, but before we get into these things that you're going to share with us, just tell us a little bit about you, please.
Okay, well, I first got interested in the unexplained. When I was about 11 years old, I was very interested in aircraft. And then one day my mum brought home a magazine, and in there she said, "Oh, someone left this magazine at work, and it's got a bit about the RAF in it. You thought you might like it." So I read it, and it was actually about the air crew seeing the Foo Fighters during the Second World War. So that sparked an interest, and then not long after that, I was at school one day. I've gone into the library, and my friend was sitting reading the book. I said, "Oh, what book are you reading?" And it happened to be There Are Giants in the Earth, which is a cryptozoology book about Bigfoot, the large ape, Bigfoot, Yeti, and all that sort of thing. So that sparked an interest. I then joined a library, my local library, and got everything out that I could do on the unexplained. That's ghosts, UFOs, and cryptids, everything.
So it's a pretty kind of thorough. Well, a lot of years, haven't you? You've been looking into it, since in school.
It's 50 years. I mean, when I was a teen, I was getting the books out, but then later in life, I would buy books. We'd go, if we were up the town, I'd have a look in W.H. Smith, see what new books come out, and things like Tim Good, Jenny Randalls, Tony Dodd, all the old ones from the 80s, really. And then UFO magazine, I got that when it came out. That came out that was the late 90s, wasn't it, Paul, when that first came out?
You'll be talking Graham Birdsall, won't you?
Pardon?
You'll be talking when Graham Birdsall were running it, yeah?
Graham Birdsall was running it, going right back, yeah.
So I'm cutting across you now, Tony, because I'm mindful of time tonight, and we want to hear some of these ghost accounts and haunting type accounts. You start where you want to start. Otherwise, they'll be jumping down mine and Les's throat because they'll be wanting to hear them.
Right. I want to talk about a place that I worked in, a casino. I used to work in the casino business, and the building where I worked is opposite the old. It's in Guildhall Walk in Portsmouth, and it's opposite the old Theatre Royal. And if ever you got like a ghost gazetteer and wanted to know about ghost stories in Portsmouth, a lot of books would say they'd mention the Theatre Royal, and there's a pub next to it called the White Swan. Older people in Portsmouth will know that pub as the Mucky Duck. It's got a different name now. I think it's the Brew House and Kitchen. But both of those are very well known to be haunted. In the Theatre Royal, an actor, a Victorian actor, killed himself. That's very haunted. And next door in the pub, a Victorian barmaid was murdered by, say, their boyfriend, and that's very known to be haunted. And they talk about them, and also, so we were opposite, but our building is Victorian that we worked in. Beautiful building on 3 floors. When I worked there, it was a Chinese restaurant on the ground floor, and then we had the 2 floors above at the casino. On the first floor, you'd have the casino and the card room, and up above, you'd have the restaurant. It's a beautiful building.
Well, Les has got a picture. Can you see the picture, Tony?
Yeah, I've sent Les some photos. That's in the 1920s. Well, what happened was in 1922, a man called Charles Brown, he was a successful local businessman, a councillor and a philanthropist, bought that and turned it into one of the poshest restaurants on the south coast. The head chef he got had worked in the Waldorf Astoria in New York and one of the top restaurants in London. And there were 70, the bit I read, there were 70 silver service waiting staff in there. And it said you can eat on 3 different floors with an electric lift.
Okay.
Anyway, so
let's get to the ghost stories. Let's get to the haunt.
Okay, right. So 1986, I've joined that company, and I started there a few weeks before it opened. And we were round the corner in another building. They were doing a training school for new dealers and everything. And we were doing other jobs because I'd already been in the business a while. And we were hearing stories because the builders were still in there. And we were hearing stories that the builders had been shaken up by like poltergeist activity, tools moving, stuff being moved around. And so we were getting bits and pieces. Then it opened. I worked there the first time for 18 months. I left for 2 years and then came back and worked there for another 10 years. But when I was there the first time, the one thing I can remember happening was one day, one of the waitresses, the coffee waitresses, saw a knife fly off of the side and go onto the floor. And then when at the end of the night, there would be a count team that would count all the money. And there was a particular manager, whenever I worked with him, there was the main staircase, and then there was the back staircase, which the staff used. On that back staircase, there were alarmed doors. And 9 times out of 10, if I was on account with him, he'd go to, when we were about to leave, he'd set the alarm, and the alarm wouldn't set because one of these doors was open. And I would, because he'd say, go and do it. And I'd try and send one of the dealers up. And he'd say, no, Tony, you go up there. I think, oh, God. So I've had to go up the building, pitch black. There's just like emergency lighting on. And then I'd go into the back stairs. And that's where the windows were. So it'd be pitch black. You'd have maybe some moonlight coming in. And you had to go up and know exactly what door it was. It was the top door that went out into the restaurant. This is important for later on. So there was that. So I left, and then when I came back, that's when all started. One day, I was on the top floor. On the top floor, you got the landing, you got the restaurant at one end. There's a little couple of steps up on the side for the ladies' toilets, and then there was a dog leg at the other end for the gents, plus the staff room door. But we weren't really supposed to use that. We had to use the back staircase. But anyway, but this was when I was a pit boss. I'd used the toilet. I just walked around the corner into the main corridor, about to go down the main staircase, when I heard a soft woman's voice say, Tony. And I instantly looked up because it came from about there. It was like someone was leaning over me and went, Tony, like this, in a soft woman's voice. it stopped me in my tracks because I knew I'd heard it, and I wasn't someone who was like liable to hear voices. So I've instantly thought there must be an explanation. So I've looked. I could see the main staircase, and that was all glass panels. There was no one there. There was no one on the landing. No one in the restaurant. It was closed. And so I then went into the lift. I checked out that was downstairs, and I went into the staff room, and the staff had already gone down from a break. They were downstairs, but I knew that had happened right there. And so I went down and told people, and I got some ribbon about it. But then a few years later, our staff room was just up the kitchen, and although we could make teas and coffees in the staff room, staff used to go into the kitchen and wash their cups up at the sink. And there was a girl on a break on her own. The kitchen had closed down. There were no staff up there. She had gone in to wash her cup, and as she was washing her cup, she heard a woman's voice say, "Good evening and welcome," so she's then looked round thinking, who the hell was that? Because there's no one up there. And of course, there was no one there. So she dropped her cup and then ran down 2 flights of stairs. Now, this is one of the incidents that I saw the aftermath of and didn't know what had happened. Because a bit after that, it wasn't long after that we actually closed the casino for the night. And I saw her being escorted upstairs by 2 other, she looked concerned, and I saw her being escorted by 2 other members of staff. And I'm thinking, oh, what's going on there? But she was too terrified to go back upstairs to get her coat and handbag, and they escorted her up there to get it and come back down. So there was that. So that was a few years later, and then she got ripped about that because the ghost had said good evening and welcome. They said it was David Frost. Now, old people would know who David Frost was. He always used to open his show with good evening and welcome, didn't he?
Right.
So there was a bit of ribbon, but she was terrified of what happened there. And then another thing that happened to me after a count again one night, I'm sitting in the bar area. There were 2 dealers sitting opposite me about 20 feet away. And while I was sitting there, an ice cold breeze, and I mean really ice cold, blew over me. And I just sat there thinking, where the hell is that coming from? There was nothing, there wasn't any aircon there or fan or anything, but it was absolutely ice cold. It wasn't just like cold from a fan anyway. And I looked down on the table, and we used to have some little paper flyers, tell the people the customers what was going on, and it was actually shaking in this breeze. It was a real breeze going over me and shaking, and there was no possible way it could, where it was coming from, and it was absolutely ice cold, and it lasted for several seconds, and I never said anything. I just wanted to get out of there quick. So that was the second thing that happened. And then to me, and then another night, it was a staff party. We used to have the staff parties up in the restaurant, Christmas staff party. And I had gone up into I'm sorry about this because I can hear my voice echoing. The wife's in the kitchen.
Well, to be honest, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Anyway, so whenever we had the staff, because the woman haunted upstairs. What I heard that it was a woman, she had committed suicide up in the toilets up there. I don't know how true that is, but it was upstairs where she haunted. And there was this staff party. I was already up. The general manager was in, and normally the manager would do the count, and the general manager would be upstairs. And the general manager said to her, "Look, I do the count. You go up with the staff and make sure they're behaving themselves. Keep an eye on them." And I was sitting up in the bar area, looking at the door to the restaurant. This was like an hour or so later after we had started the party, and I saw the general manager walk into the restaurant. But what struck me is her face was completely white, like completely drained. Because I instantly thought, Christ, she looks ill. Is she all right? And then she's walked up into the bar area and come past me. And as she went past, I said, "Are you okay?" And she completely ignored me. She was just, all she wanted to do was get over and speak to the manager, obviously tell her what had happened. And what had happened was, found out the next day, she was in the cash desk with the cashier, and you could sort of look out of the cash desk window and see most of the gaming floor where all the tables were. And she was counting money, and she happened to look out, and she saw a woman sitting at one of the tables, a blonde-haired woman. And I found this out, and that's as much information that I could get because it was like kept pretty much quiet.
Yeah.
But I saw her after, so she must have seen this person disappear because her face was completely white when I saw her. It was the first thing I noticed when she walked into the restaurant. She was completely drained of colour, her face. She had a real fright with that one.
Very active area, Tony, isn't it? This
this was over. I mean, you would get it would normally be something like a couple of times a year, 2 or 3 times a year. Something would happen.
Same time of year as well, would it? Or
winter time, I'd say, because I never really kept a note of when this was going on. So there was that one. And then another.
Tony, just before you tell us the next one, and you might end up getting cut short at the 30-minute mark because there may be some questions. I don't know because I can't see them. But it called this spirit, yeah. It called you Tony. That's implying an awareness.
At the time, Paul, we wore name badges.
Well, even so, that's implying that this has got. And I'm not saying to anybody who knows about spirits probably going to, well, of course it would know, Paul.
It's not just a ghost, because the ghost I saw, although originally I thought it was a solid man, the one on the bridge. Originally, it was only because I stopped the car and I was watching him that I then see him disappear. Because I would have said after seeing that it was a replay, that this implies something completely different. There's an intelligence there,
without a doubt.
And she must to know my name. And I mean, I had worked there before, but that was just really spooky. Yeah, I'd often thought about that.
It's Tony. So even let's assume that this entity, whatever it is, can actually read, or it knows that you're Tony. But I cut you short there, Tony. So have you got any more to add to the casino?
Right, yeah. My wife's just reminded me of the best one. I wrote notes down and I hadn't even looked at them, Paul.
No worries.
I'm just all over the place. Right, it's the end of the night in the restaurant. You've got the waitress and the kitchen porter. Kitchen porter's mopping the floor. The waitress is wiping down the surfaces. And he's standing in front of her, like sideways to her, and he's mopping right in front of the door that goes into the restaurant. But there's a little foyer and a door off of that into the restaurant. But this foyer was about 10 by 10, that sort of thing. And it had the other side of that door, there was the back door to the back stairs. The one that always used to be open, even though they had closed it at the end of the night, it used to open itself. Well, he's there at the door mopping. All of a sudden, he turns around to she won't mind me saying Lisa, and he says, he stopped mopping. And he said, "Did you see that?" And she said, "Yes." And he dropped the mic and then ran out the other door into the staff room and refused to come back out. And it took him about half an hour to try and persuade him to go back into the kitchen to finish cleaning up. And and I said, "Well, what did you see?" And she said, "I saw the grey shape of a woman. It was, see-through, but you could make out as a woman in a dress. Walk past from the restaurant, past that door to the back door."
Right.
That's what they saw. And he left a few days after. It really freaked him out. He didn't stay there. Yeah. So that was the. I think one of the other staff might have seen that ghost. And another one of the customers again. I'll tell you a couple of customers. This woman used to come in with her friend and play the fruit machines. That's all she played. She never played on the tables. And my wife was a waitress there, and she got to really know all the customers. And this customer, Irish lady, told my wife what had happened. And she said she was leaving the casino one night, and the reception had a glass doors. You had to be buzzed in and out. Well, you could go out yourself, but you had to be buzzed in. And as she's got to the door and opened it, there was a lady in a black dress walking out of going out the main entrance. And this lady went out and turned left, and that's what this Irish lady had to do: is turn left, go across the road to go to the car park to get her car. And she said this woman was walking in front of her. She didn't think much of it. And they've crossed the roads and she's just behind her. And she said all of a sudden this woman just evaporated, just disappeared. And she told my wife that. And then another quick one with a customer. Oh, this is another one that I saw the aftermath of. I was actually inspecting in the pit. And I was looking over the far side. We had 2 roulette tables, and there was a regular customer. We called him Ron, who was on one table, and his 2 friends were playing on the other. There were no. This was right at the end of the night. There were no other customers on the tables, not on those 2 tables anyway. Okay. And Ron was playing there, and then all of a sudden I've seen him get up, and he was like looking around like this, and he looked all confused, and I thought, what's going on? Then he went over and he was talking to his friends that were sitting at the other table. And I thought, what's going on over there? And then eventually one of his friends came round and I said, what's up with Ron? What's going on? And he said, he said someone tapped him on the shoulder, said, all right, mate. He turned round and there was nobody there. And he was, and then he eventually came round. I said, Ron, I've just heard. And he said to me, he was standing there and he was a really lovely bloke, always got on with him. And he was saying, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Like this, he was saying. He was like really shocked. And he was actually from the Romany family. He was a gypsy.
Yeah.
That guy. So maybe he had some sort of powers or whatever. He could, sensitivity, he could.
Yeah, there's something there then, Tony. Fascinating, isn't it? It's whatever it is has spoken to you, said your name. It's made itself. It's made itself. People aware of it, as in you can see it, but it's also got a physical. It's touched.
There's loads of cases where people have heard their name called. Now we've got Wimmera Manor nearby. That's a very well-known haunted mansion. Yeah, and one of the guys, because I went there last year at one of the open days, and they do a tour for people. That they just open up and do the tours now and again. And then I didn't catch the very first of it. But basically, what had happened? He was there with a lady volunteer and they were there for the day. And he popped out to the local Tesco's to get him some lunch. And so it was all locked up. They basically locked this woman in. No one else could get in or out. I mean, they're like looking after the building. And so he's gone to get lunch, and she phoned him when he was going around the aisles in Tesco's and said, can you get back here? Because there's been an almighty crash upstairs. And they're thinking, an intruder. Yeah. So he rushed back there and he went in and did a thorough search of the building. There was no one in, and there was no way people could have got in or out of there.
Nothing fell over.
But he also said, and I've been walking around here and I've heard my name called.
Yeah.
So they know him.
Fascinating.
But there are lots of other cases where it's happened.
Yeah. Carry on, please. Just one thing, and because I don't want to intrude, but it's just because it's in my well, this into question for you, this Tony. I see Mick Park come in, and it was great to spend some time with you last week, Mick. Myself, Pete, and Linny, we enjoyed your company. Well, we always do. But Mick noted, he says the highlight of it was seeing the UFO at Bempton. So just for a minute. We did see something unusual at Bempton while we were up there with Mick last week.
Oh, good.
Huge sphere of light. Obviously, we've checked. So we're not looking at some structured craft. We're looking at a sphere of light. So we're chasing lights once again. But I mean, the space station had been checked. Everything had been. It weren't even in our area or over us. But what were interesting about this sphere of light, and we'll not dwell on this one because it's all about you, Tony, is that it did a dog's leg. It just was going over, and then it did a right turn and went off in another direction. We found that fascinating. So thanks for reminding me of that, Mick. I did read it. And carry on, Tony. And unless Les jumps in, once there's some questions and Les appears, we'll go with some questions as well because we're limited for time on.
Yeah, if there's any questions, though.
He's here. Microphone, Les.
First of all, I've got to say, let's have a look. Steve Davis says, Tony, hard to think of a question to ask you, but appreciate your amazing contribution here tonight.
Yeah, we do. Thank you.
Oh,
Thanks, Steve.
you.
Yeah, very welcome. Yeah, and I've got a question now from Alex Thompson.
I'm hoping there'll be some people from the casino that I work with in there watching this tonight, and hopefully they might ask a question or confirm what I'm saying, because a lot of people that know me in there knew that they knew how spooky the place was. And on my group, on my Facebook group, I've had them come on there and say about their experiences in there, in that building.
Well, it'd be good, Tony, because if there's more to run with this, we can have you back for a longer period and maybe get some of them people on if they wanted. Right, fire the question, Les.
Alex Thompson, question for Tony, if possible. What is your favourite account of a haunting, Tony? Which is your favourite one?
Oh, I don't know. There's so many. Mm-hmm. Probably, I love the road ghosts when people suddenly appear. I think the Bluebell Hill ghost story, if you know that, the Bluebell Hill ghost, and basically because there's nearby in Gosport, there was a taxi driver one night driving down the road, and all of a sudden he had a hooded figure appear in front of his car. He had no time to stop, and he just went straight through it. And that got in the local papers, and apparently he was really shaken up. He won't go back down that road afterwards. But those sort of ones. But there's so many, like from Porchester Castle we've got nearby. There's lots there. I mean, if you go onto my Facebook page, Portsmouth Unexplained and Mysteries, there are absolutely tons of ghost sightings there. Absolutely tons of them.
Yeah. Do you find certain areas? Do you find certain areas produce same type of sighting then, Tony?
Definitely. There are there are areas in this city where there's been a lot of phenomena. Like, I mean, round the corner from me, I've got the main high street, Fratton Road, and there's a block where you start on the corner. There were people hearing noises upstairs, and that was haunted. Then next door to that, you had the Guardsman, where it's a former Guardsman pub, and that's one of the oldest buildings in Portsmouth. In there are 3 ghosts: an old woman, a child, and a cat, apparently. Next to that, you've got the old bingo hall that's waiting to be demolished. That then turned into a shoe warehouse. And the people that work there had loads of frights. That's haunted. It's supposed to be one of the old projectionists, the cinema projectionist that haunts that. And then next door to that, you've got the old Dog and Duck pub, again, a very old pub, about 200 years old. That became a bank. It was a bank during the 90s, and that's haunted as well. So every building in that little area has got reports of ghostly phenomena.
Fascinating.
In about 100-yard sort of area.
Did you know that there's a question after question that I could ask you, but I'm going to stop myself because I think Les has probably got another question. Have you?
Martin Evers, how has Tony's thoughts on life after death changed after seeing these ghosts?
I think people live on in another form. I really do. Yeah. I mean, what's going on?
Yeah, it's true.
I really
Okay.
do think that. I don't think we die now. Did you want to hear about the ghost sighting on my road, Paul?
How
We'll
many
just get
questions
some
we
more.
got?
We've got a few more questions.
Oh,
I'd like to
sorry,
get
is there
those.
more questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have a few
Sorry,
questions because you can come back and do some of these if we don't get that one out, Tony. This is all good.
Okay, yeah, okay, Paul, no problem.
from Martin
I
Abbas.
can't believe I didn't go through. Oh, God.
Did Tony have any hitchhiker effects?
Ebony, sorry.
Hitchhiker effects.
Hitchhiker
Meaning,
effects.
meaning when you were experiencing these things, did anything come home with you?
No, luckily. I've just been seeing about a case where that was happening, and they were seeing a tall monk. They were seeing it at work. Do you know the one I was talking about the other day, Les? About that old waterworks, and there were people around that area, not just people that worked there but lived nearby, were seeing this tall monk-like figure in the fields walking about, and each person that worked in there that saw that figure would go home and then see that figure outside their house in the road or in the garden. And one guy went to play golf straight after work, and when he was on the golf course he saw it, but they'd only see it the once. And something like that would absolutely terrify me if I saw that.
I'm sure it won't do me much good.
I'll move on. I'm only moving on because of the time limitations. Tony. Fred Flintstone. Hi, Tony. Why do you think this phenomena enjoys scaring people? Why do you think they like doing that?
Well, I don't think all of it does. Some of it is friendly and a mess about. Oh, there's another story. It involves a dessert trolley, a fruit bowl, and an orange. I can say that one if you want.
It sounds like the beginning of a joke, that one.
Well, it is, yeah. We had a barman at the casino called Keith. He's passed now, God bless his soul. And he was one of the funniest men I've ever met. He could tell you a story, keep you totally engrossed in it, and have you in hysterics. Well, anyway, after a while, they made him the restaurant manager. And one day he's come up to me, he's gone, "Here, she's been getting me at it." I said, "What? Who are you on about?" He's gone, "That ghost, right? It's that swall." I said, "What's happened?" He said, "Well, I'm setting up for the night," because he was a camp man as well. He said, "I'm setting up for the night, so I've wheeled the dessert trolley out into the restaurant, and it had the fruit bowl on it with some fruit in it." And he said, "I was doing odds and sods, and I went out the back." I was going out to get the cutlery or whatever, as he was laying all the tables. He said, "And when I went back in the restaurant, there was a bleeding orange on the floor. So I picked it up and put it back on, carried on doing work, went out the back." He said, "The next time I come out, there's a bloody orange on the floor again." So I picked it up, put it back, and made sure it was actually positioned correctly in the bowl, make sure it couldn't fall off, and went back out. And then went out to the kitchen to do something. He said, "When I come back," he said, "the bleeding orange is on the floor again." And I said, "What did you do?" He said, "Well, I picked it up, placed it in the bowl, essed the brick, and then run into the kitchen."
So,
yeah, and he had seen a ghost on his way to work in a underground passageway in the subway, and where that subway is, it was built in over a graveyard, and that area there is all very haunted. And he saw a woman in a shroud at the other end of the subway at the tunnel. So.
Can I get a couple of questions in?
Well, let's fire another one.
I'll get a couple of questions in for Tony, and then probably what we've got left, we'll ask you to come on again for another show, Tony, if that's all right by you.
That's no problem. Yeah.
Yeah, Dragonborn, Tony, have you ever been really scared by one of these events? So,
good question.
Basically, what's your fear threshold?
No, none of the things that happened to me, it scared me. I was just sort of amazed, if anything. Obviously, when I thought about it afterwards, like after I'd been spoken to, my name called, I wasn't scared at the time. But then if I had to ever go upstairs for something, and when it was all closed down, I would be a bit,
So it
Warwick
put you on your
End.
toes. It put you on your
I
toes then,
didn't
didn't
like
it?
going. I really just didn't like going in that restaurant. There was always like an atmosphere in there. I really didn't like going in there. You
Okay.
know. And
Unless,
luckily, when I was being sent upstairs on my own, when I first worked there, none of that had happened. Because I think
no.
if I was been sent to do that, close that door after that had happened, I would be it'd be squeaky bum time. I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Let's have another one then, Les.
Hey Roscoe, did Tony see any ghost walk through the walls by any chance? As I'm sure the building was never rebuilt.
No, but apparently, someone told me a long time ago. One of the cashiers actually, she said that they must have had the local paper must have done a feature on ghosts, and apparently a woman had written in and said she was eating in our restaurant and she saw a ghost walk through the wall.
Hmm.
But I don't know how true that is because I haven't seen that account myself. But that's what I was told.
Yeah.
So
That's
I mean,
good to know, innit?
if that ghost was really active up there, other people must have seen her.
Yeah.
And don't forget, not everybody's going to say that they've seen something.
You're spot on.
They keep it to themselves. They're not going to. Not everybody's going to go public with what they've seen. Like the ghost I saw on our bridge. I'm sure other people would have seen something strange there. Well, I've got an account. There are 4 people that witnessed something one day. But how many people have seen something and then don't want to tell anyone, or they might just tell a loved one or a close friend, but won't go public with it? There's
Well,
got to be
sometimes,
others. How many out there?
but
Yeah.
sometimes reasons for that, Tony, is it goes against what they actually believe is possible. So
Exactly.
they don't want to
Yeah,
admit
they
it,
don't
you
want
know?
to think about it. Some people will be traumatized by what they see, and they won't
Yeah.
want to think about it anymore.
Right. Next question.
Got a question from Nightbird. Question for Tony, please. Has anyone done any research on this business to see if it has had a history of tragic events or death? I know you've just talked about earlier on in the show about the.
No,
somebody-
I did the research on the man that owned the building and opened it up as a restaurant in 1922. But no, I mean, I couldn't find out any information before then, but it must have been some sort of hospitality venue. I think it may have been a dance hall or something before then,
Hmm.
but I couldn't find out anything about it. It was just about Charles Brown and his life, really.
So a question from me then, Tony. What are the experiencing now at the building?
I'm
the
just
present
writing that
Well,
down
now
as you
it's
that.
Well-
I was just going to ask the same.
right. The downstairs when I worked there as a casino. Originally, it was a Chinese restaurant. Then it turned into a bar for several years, and now it's a Starbucks. But that's
Right.
one thing I wish I had asked. I never found out if anything was going on downstairs. The only thing, because all we had downstairs was a small reception area on the side of the building. And obviously, we had seen that lady had seen the ghost walk out of there, but I didn't hear of anything going on that ground floor. But I'm sure there must have been things going on. Now it's above what was the casino above is now an art gallery, and I put a feeler out on that, and someone got back to me and said apparently there had been things still going on upstairs, and that don't surprise me one bit.
Be
I'm
brilliant
sure
if
it's still going on.
if through this, Tony, it'd be great if somebody contacts you to, lets you know
Well,
that
I
other
hope
things.
so. I mean, that's why I eventually started the group on Facebook in the hope that that I could get more info on what I saw on the bridge, and maybe because there was a car in front of me that saw the same man with 2 people in it. So I was hoping one of those would get in touch with me, and also for people that might have seen something strange in a particular area, like if they were driving down a road and saw something paranormal, and then wondering if they really did see it, if they're like seeing things or not. They might get someone say, "Oh, I was driving down that particular stretch of road and I saw this," and then they think, "Oh, well, I did really see it. Then I wasn't imagining it." It's
Okay.
that sort of thing.
I've got one last question from Steve Davis for Tony. Do you not think that the living are more of a concern, stroke risk than ghosts, poltergeists, which are just scary?
Yeah, Yes, I think you're spot on there. They are definitely what's going on at the moment.
Okay, with that then, Tony, we've just got to get a few more questions in for Paul tonight. So I don't know if you want to hang around and then.
Oh, he's welcome to hang
Yeah,
around.
that's no problem.
Hi, Laura.
Yeah, well, I'd
But,
normally be listening anyway. I'll be listening in anyway.
well,
Could have
just
a chocolate
contribute.
break, Les.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to be on the screen or not, Tony? Do you still want to be on the
I'm
screen?
not fast. You can turn me off. It's not a problem.
But, well, before you go, will you come back, Tony, and share some more accounts with us?
Yeah, if you want me to do another Sunday, Paul, I'll do that. So whenever you're ready, and I can talk more about. There's a whole lot more paranormal stuff, but there's also lots of the UFO stuff in the accounts. So it's.
Thank you.
I'll probably have to do more than one, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's all good. Thank you,
great.
Tony.
Right, okay then, Paul. Question from Andy Decodes. Paul, I took a photo when I was there last week of a footprint as big as my hand. I did read that one out earlier.
That's okay. Yeah. And what I'll do, Andy, I'll see if I can have a natter to you next day or so, and we'll get an exact location, and I'll go with some casting material and see if we can find it, and we'll show it. And that's good. And I wouldn't disbelieve that, because I haven't got it to hand, pardon the pun, but I had a big print, that I took myself, that I'd cast myself. So, yeah.
Riverton, Pike Beasley, Roscoe, if Bigfoot is telepathic, can it see into the earth? That's a
I think that's a question for everybody, Lee, because I've no idea, mate, honestly. Who can say? I mean, do they live within the earth? It's I don't know. What's your views, Les? What's your views, Tony? I really don't know.
I've no idea.
No,
Can
I don't know.
Obviously, you've got a direction of thought with that, Lee. So we'd need to know what it was. Maybe you can tell us that at some point this week, because what's it looking for? I don't know.
Barrow White, Paul.
I don't go with the spiritual theory with Bigfoot, Paul. I believe that is a real physical creature.
Yeah, well, do you know, we had Ron Moorhead on, and everybody knows we had terrible problems with audio on Thursday. But I don't want to speak for Ron, because we're going to do another interview with him. But I think he's on the lines where it's a physical creature that's got incredible, like talent, should we say, that we would look upon as paranormal, and the things it can do. Some people would look upon as magic. But I were really looking forward to listening.
Do you know that Sir David Attenborough? Someone asked him, are there any cryptid animals that you believe in, that you think that could be real? And he said, the Yeti in Nepal. He said there's too much evidence, to suggest that there's something there. So that's the only one.
So what we got here, Paul, have you watched Mysteries and Monsters' latest episode? Maria Sterling, right up your street, transformation from fairy abduction to I've not watched it, Barrow Wright, but I will do. And do you know, there's so many, the fairies, there's so many stories out there which are absolutely ancient that suggest these things could be a lot more involved in what we're looking at than maybe just thinking that we're looking at a cryptid type creature or some kind of haunting. It might be responsible for it all in the end, but go on, Les.
Ian Liston Smith, have you used any calibrated RF spectrum when on the cliffs observing the lights?
No, we use, as you know, we've tried all sorts of things and different meters and what have you, but no. And I've also got an infrared camera that I ought to take out more. It weren't cheap, a good one with a remote controller that I can set up on a tripod. So all things that I need to try, all things that I need to be investing time in, Ian.
Okay, I know you touched on this earlier. Selma Carrick, Paul, that UFO that looked like the space station, was it Friday night about 11:15? It came over the same east to west, and then dog leg to south.
if Mick can put the time up, I'm not sure what time it was, but we'd actually got the phone up to the space station, just weren't there, and it can't have been Friday night because Mick had gone home. I'm trying to think what night it was. Linny were in as well, so come on, help me with this. It must have been Tuesday, I think. No, Tuesday night.
Okay. So look then. What's this one? Do you think that the paranormal increases because of the energy created by many people in one place? Well, I'll throw that open to both of you.
Yeah, well, I'll have a go at it first. Then I think it could do, but I think it's more likely to increase when a person stops believing and knows it's real. You become aware of it, and you like kind of connect with it. Because a lot of people in this chat, I mean, I can see my daughter Lauren, and she's not a believer. She knows that it's real because they've experienced things, and I should imagine a lot of people in here do. But what's your views on that, Tony?
Yeah. What in the spiritual sense, you mean?
Well, does the energy and the activity, I would imagine Rob's saying, does it increase if there's a lot of people creating a bit of, emotional energy around it?
I think emotional energy can, yeah. If people are angry or depressed, that can happen. But the ghost in the casino, the upstairs, it was always when there were people up there. If there was any noise going on, there would be activity then.
Yes.
So it seemed to affect that one.
It's kind of answering Rob's question. That then, yeah, thanks, thank you. Wednesday night, Lynn, he says, so it was Wednesday, not Tuesday. This went over. And what about time? Mick or Linny, just tell us time. I can't remember time, to be honest with you. I didn't log it, but I know it was. I did film it. Go on then.
Ian Lenny, question for Les. Did you enjoy your visit to the cliffs last week? Nice to meet you. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
And great to meet you as well, Lenny, and everybody else who I met there that night. It was
people even saw Pete, who'll be looking in on this now, but he never comes in chat. So yeah, it was all right, weren't it? Well, good. And excellent.
My wife just said to me that every time they did something in the building, move something around, that's when they would get activity in there. It's obviously the spirit didn't like things being moved about or changed.
And there's a pattern there, Tony. There is a pattern.
Yeah.
People will not jump into this one right now, but people will move into an house and then start knocking it to bits, and suddenly activity. Yeah, see what you're saying.
When the thing gets changed, and there's other cases on Earth where that's happened.
Yeah.
This activity kicks off more when people start moving everything about.
Yeah.
And changing things.
Okay, then let's go on. It is with another.
Okay, from your daughter, Laura.
Oh, from Laura. Hi, Laura.
Not a question, but I was just to know. I feel there's much energy around me all the time. In my garden last night, I was getting the clothes off the washing line, and I heard a growl noise.
Yeah, and you hadn't told me that, Laura. But I don't know. I don't know where these things come from or how it originates. Just briefly, the lady walking out of Danesdyke with her brother and her little boy. Daylight, she heard the growl as though it were on her shoulder. Brother never heard it. Little boy never heard it. And it's just one of them. Why would you say it if it weren't? If you'd not heard it. It's fascinating. There's a lot more around us than we realise.
Definitely. Mark Anderson, Paul Les, can I ask, is it possible to camp at Bempton?
I'm not going to say it's impossible. Let's just put it there. You go. It's probably not allowed, mate, but I know people do.
It's not officially on the cards that you can.
I don't think it's officially on the cards, but when you think about it, you're talking about those clifftop paths, and it's full public access. So I don't know what the restrictions would be, Mark. But just talk to me sometime, Mark. Message me.
And that clifftop path, it's pretty narrow. And would you want to be on there?
No, probably not. I won't want not without a fence. I don't want to be rolling over at night and find it. Well, I'll become a ghost and I'll be wandering bottoms of Bempton cliffs.
They tend to get picked up and blown off the cliffs, Paul.
That'd be great, wouldn't it? Imagine that rolling
Where the
down.
wind, how the wind
Yeah,
blows there off the North Sea.
well, yeah.
I've got a couple of questions left, guys.
Yeah, go on then.
From,
10:45, Lenny says that's UFO we saw, yeah.
right. That's good to know. Right, Steve Davis. Paul, with your vast experience and knowledge of our strangeness, have you ever seen or been intimidated by men in black? And I know you've covered this.
Well, no, I don't think I've any more experience than you guys, you know. I know there'll be people sat here with things to tell that we're probably never going to hear that are far more interesting than what we're going to share. But Men in Black, I don't know, to be honest. I got intimidated by the guy at the bottom of the street. We won't go into that one because I get punished when I start going into it because they say it's too repetitive. Yeah. And in Night People, I wrote about some people which are called the Ticks, which I've spoke about probably once or twice, and I'll probably get pushed into speaking about it now because somebody else has just done a number on Night People. They've not done anything bad, by the way. The book's out there, but they've just done they've done their own version of my take on what happened to me with these people that I've called the Ticks, which I've not talked about because they were disturbing. But seeing as they've put it out there, I think we're going to have to do it. So yeah, intimidated. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Steve. Yeah.
Okay. David Backer, do you think the Wolfman in Dane's Dyke is it some kind of haunting?
Could be, Dave, couldn't it? You know, I mean, are we creating it, Dave? Are we actually creating what we're seeing? I'm not saying we are, but I'm a firm believer that whatever it is, I don't think it's going to hurt anybody. Otherwise, it would have done, and it couldn't possibly. Go on, Tony.
It's their spirits, Paul. They're protecting the dead.
Well, yeah, and when you think about it, it's on an ancient earthwork, and that's where it is. So are they some kind of...
That's where they're seen around the burial mounds.
Yeah,
and the long burrows and everything.
Yeah, well, that's what we've got here. It's 2.5 miles of earthwork, but I think you're right, Dave, because I don't think it's going to hurt anybody anytime soon. But people are reporting it, people are seeing it. There you go.
Okay, with that, then we are done with the questions. I've got to thank Alison for sending the questions through tonight. Great questions, by the way, as always.
Yeah, thank you, Alison.
Yeah, thanks for people
it's brilliant. Thank you.
As I said, Tony, you mentioned your group, Facebook group, a number of times. So for the benefit of the viewers that didn't catch that, can you just mention that again? I have put a link in tonight's description for them to join that group because you have to join, don't you?
Yeah, you could do that. There's no problem. Yeah, I mean it's Portsmouth in about a 10-mile radius. I haven't really gone on the Isle of Wight because that's a whole new. I'll be writing stuff for about a year. We'll go over there. I've done one feature on the Isle of Wight, and that was the Ryde Pierhead, because they used to have the old subway carriages from London, the 1930s one. And I had a great story about them on the Pierhead, and a guy, one of the railway workers, was having a break. His friend had gone to the cafe. He said, "I'm going to sit here and eat the sandwiches," and he heard all the connecting doors going when there was no one else on the train. And that same thing has happened to I don't know if you've seen that documentary on YouTube about the ghosts of the subway. I think it was originally on Channel 4. It's had millions of views, and it's about all the ghosts in the London subway. I think
the guy we've had on, I did that documentary. I could be wrong. He'll contact. I think it was Mike Godfrey.
It's the best ghost documentary I've seen. And there's the one bit where they go in the Kennington Loop, and they spoke to different people that didn't even know each other on the railways. And they had heard the same thing. The carriages had to stop in the Kennington Loop, and they were sitting there, and they had all the connecting doors going.
Tony, I'm sorry to cut across you, mate, but we are run out of time tonight.
Right.
So really, when they join your group, they can read lots and lots of these stories.
All the stories are there. I mean, they can, for example, put in search Wimbledon Manor, they get, or Porchester Castle, they get all the ghosts there. the
Right.
Guildhall walk and that come up
Yeah.
with the ghosts that have been seen
Well-
there in my building. The
Well,
old
well, that's
Cena
brilliant
building,
then.
sorry.
Paul Sinclair, you got 20 seconds to advertise your books and your DVD.
Well, yeah, the books are available on truthproof.uk, as is Wolflands if you want a copy of the DVD, or go to Amazon, download it, watch it on Amazon Prime, and get the books on Kindle download.
Oh,
Thank you
Paul,
very much.
can I do a plug
Without-
for a
without-
local author? A book.
Quickly, then, put it
Gotta
on
be
now.
really quick. We're over
This
time
is
now. Yeah.
The Mysteries of Portsmouth by Matt Wingett. Matt Wingett is actually a member of the group. And
Brilliant.
this book
Great
is
cover.
it's a large book, and it's about £10 on Amazon you can buy it from. And it's all mysteries and folklore and everything. And there's ghost Wimbledon Manor is in there, and all sorts in there, UFOs as well.
Brilliant. Well, we'll
Okay,
see you,
thanks.
and we'll have you back on here. And on that note, I'm going to say goodbye because I know Les has got
All
to
right,
go
good
ahead.
night.
Yeah.
Tony,
Good night,
thank you.
everyone.
Les, thank you.
Okay,
Alison, thanks.
Thanks for being
And
on,
everybody
Tony.
else.
Thanks, Paul. And we'll see you all
I'll speak
on
to you soon, Paul.
See you, mate. Take care.
Great guest on Thursday. Yeah, Dan Haraway, and we'll be talking to Dan on Thursday. On that note, we're going. Bye.